This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 633.
I program my own computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology.
Why, hello everybody, this is Adam Silvey, host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events. We have one next weekend, WordPress Campus Connect. It's in Bogura, April 18th. That is in Bangladesh, India. I'm not going to be there. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I think when this comes out, actually, at WordCamp Asia should have been over by now. The photos looked amazing. Also, PressCon. Yeah, I think it's because it used to be the Pressnomics. That is now over as well. Those photos out of Arizona, run by Raquel. That event also looked amazing. So if you were there, those two events, Asia and PressCon, I hope you had a great time. If you are in the part of the world where you can make it to the Campus Connect one day, April 18th, you should go. All right, moving on. Segment one in the news. Two things here. WordPress 7.0 did not come out last week. It was delayed. They're still testing it. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but the new time and date are to be announced. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to dive back into that and keep testing, helping where I can, seeing if I can be of more service there. It's pretty cool. Also in the news, 2027 theme, there's been news on that. There's been a new team announcement on that. And commented on this. There's a link in the show notes over at make.wordpress.org for the core section about the new the call for volunteers to help with the 2027 theme that'll come out in, I guess, the end of this year or next year, I guess. So if you're interested in that, check that out as well. In the show link in the show notes. All right. That in the news? Yeah, that's it in the news. Moving on to segment two, meat potatoes. This week, I wanted to do something a little different. I'm going to walk through step by step how I built my most recent Vibe coded project, because I've been toying with this. I've been testing it and theories and doing stuff and, all those things. And this one's interesting, I think, to share, because it didn't start in WordPress necessarily. I didn't start it in design. I didn't start it in code. I started with a prompt. So with that, I'm going to break this down. It's section by section here. So I opened up ChatGPT. I basically described an idea, a site where people could vent about a work situation, share stories, and kind of get things off their chest. I asked it for structure, layout ideas, feature ideas, and some overall direction. That initial prompt really shaped everything that came next. And by the way, I'm going to share the original prompts. I've already created a PDF for you. It'll be in the show notes. You can grab it and see exactly what I started the conversation with and how I worded it. And you can then, as well as where it went from there. All the prompts with all the tools. So anyway, from there, I took that prompt and moved it over to lovable.dev. That's what I've been using lately to kind of give me some wireframes and designs real quick. I dropped the concept there and I let it generate the UI and the overall experience. And honestly, it did a really good job, in my opinion. It created the working interface, the pages, which is really, it was one page to start and then a couple more pages, the structure and the general flow and feel of the site. Now, one thing to note here, in order to get the files from Lovable, I had to connect it to my GitHub account. I have a free one because that's the only way to export unless you pay for Lovable. But you can connect Lovable to GitHub, push it to the repo, and then download the zip from GitHub. So again, technically speaking, that's how I did that. Now I've got the zip file of the Vibe coded project UI. Looks good, but it's not WordPress. And of course, I want this to live in WordPress. So the next step is I created a brand new WordPress instance locally using local by Flywheel. Local WP, yeah. It's clean, blank install, nothing fancy. And I installed Beaver Builder, I believe. Yes, I did. The goal was to be simple. Take the prototype, turn it into a WordPress site. Then I brought in Codex, which I've also been using a lot lately, created a new project, and I connected that project directly to that local WP directory. That makes sense? Good. Once that was connected, I dropped the Lovable zip file into that project folder, into the root, if you will. Then I told Codex what I wanted. I explained that I had a zip from Lovable, I had fresh WordPress install, and the goal was to build the site inside of WordPress using that structure as a guide. And this is where things got pretty wild. Codex basically went to work. It read the files, analyzed the structure, and started building out in the WordPress site. Okay. The first pass actually did use Beaver Builder. It's what I had it told it to do. I wanted to use Beaver Builder. It created the pages, the layout, the structure, and honestly did a pretty solid job. The bones were there. The content structure was right. Navigation was good. But visually, it wasn't quite what I wanted. It was close, but not close enough. So I then said, hey, Codex, let's switch this to the Ollie theme. Because I figured, you know what, let me dive more into this. I'm kind of coming around to the block themes. I wanted some patterns, I wanted some blocks, and I wanted this done in a modern WordPress way. Okay, so Codex made that switch. But then I realized I didn't fully specify block theme architecture. So because it actually created some template PHP files instead of using patterns and blocks. And that's one of those moments when you realize, in my case, I realized you still have to guide AI. It's not magic. It's completely collaborative. It's going to do what you tell it to do or make something up in one aspect, what I think is the best practice. In this case, it wasn't. So I clarified. I said I wanted this built in block theme conventions, patterns, blocks, global styles, reusable layout structure. And after that, Codex adjusted and things started looking a lot closer than what I had in mind. That came from that lovable design. Then I went a step further. I started vibe coding some plugins because I needed some functionality here. The first was a dashboard plugin. I wanted an easy way to review Gravity Forms submissions inside of the admin, something lightweight, purpose-built for the site. I also actually, so I described it, Codex built it, and it worked. It was amazing. I also did want an add-on for the Gravity Forms itself to limit checkboxes to 3. And there's other plugins that do that, but I figured I just need a single-use plugin here, and it did it really quickly. And then the affiliate links plugin, again, very specific use case. I'm not tracking anything on the site from Google Analytics because it's supposed to be anonymous, but I want to know when people click certain links. I don't need pretty link here because it's not making pretty links. So anyway, I also got a vibe-coded idea, so it just basically tells me when someone clicks a link and gives me a number. That's it. And then finally, the fun one, I forked an existing plugin and modify it for an Easter egg, okay? Something playful for the site, and Codex handled that as well. Took a little bit of wrangling, if you will, but conversations back and forth, but I got that done as well. So when you go to the site eventually, you'll see this link in the show notes. You can try to find the Easter egg. So now I've got a custom theme approach, custom plugins, and a full WordPress site that started it as a prompt. That was it, just a prompt. And that's the wild part. So like I said, I'm going to share those prompts in the show notes because I think it's important to see how talking to Codex and just those initial prompts, how I got there. It's pretty cool. It's pretty clean. So again, recapping this real quick. I started with ChatGPT. I moved to Lovable. I connected to GitHub. I downloaded that zip. I created a local WP install. I connected it to Codex. It built the site, or I built the site. I don't know. The site was built. It switched the theme. It adjusted the architecture, and it vibe coded plugins. That's what I did here. That's what was pretty cool. And for good measure, after all said and done, because it's in local WP, I wanted to push it to my server, but local WP only goes to WP Engine and Flywheel natively because it already has your information. But I told Codex to go ahead. Here's the SSH. Here's where I want it to go. Can you push this? And it did. It was pretty cool. And that got me tinkering a total rabbit hole a couple days later, thinking about that. Could I have Codex give me an add-on, write me the code for Flywheel, for WP, local by WP, whatever it's called. Because they have an add-on structure, code base. And I'm pretty close to getting that done too. So now I might be able to use local by Flywheel to push to my Cloudways server. I use Cloudways as a dev place. So anyway, so what surprised me the most, the takeaway, a couple of things here, is how fast this came together. Because it really did. The idea popped in my head, and I probably had the prototype up and running in 2 days tops, maybe a day and a half. And then I kind of tinkered over the next week, whatnot. So it's just interesting. It's really fun. You can prototype anywhere. WordPress is still the place to land for me right now. So I just want to put that out there. So I also think this changes how we build, side projects. You don't need to start with the theme. You don't need to start with plugins. You can start with an idea and let the stack evolve. So keep in mind, and I want to really make this pertinent here, this is not replacing developers. It's not replacing WordPress, at least not for me. It's accelerating the process. You still need architecture. You still need direction. You still need to know what you want. But the speed in doing these things is incredible. It really is. And again, and not just incredible, but fun from my perspective. I was at the coffee shop when I did most of this stuff in the mornings. And I remember thinking, I wrote this little thing, I prompted it, and it worked. And I put my hands up in the air. So it's that feeling of like, I accomplished this. It was pretty cool. I'm doing it right now. You can't see me, but my hands are in the air. I'm smiling, just thinking about how fun this was. Anyway, again, the ChatGPT prompts, the Codex initial prompts are in the show notes. Download them, experiment with if you want. It was a fun one. And honestly, I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. I actually have an idea to do one using WordPress as the landing page only, but using, something else on the back end just to see how that would work from, that process as well. So I'm interested. If you're vibe coding, if you're doing any of this kind of thing, let's talk about it. Let's get on a call. Let's do a Zoom. I don't know. Let's share information. I just think, there's no reason to gatekeep this stuff. So check it out. More information there, obviously, in the show notes. So there you go. That is what I did in the last 2 weeks ago. Just want to share this process because people have been asking me about it. So it's been a lot of fun. All right. Moving on. Segment 3, tip and tool of the week. This one's a book. I heard about this on a podcast. The book is called The Paradox of Choice. Pretty interesting as I dive in. It just brings to light a lot of areas that may help you in life and as a business owner or even as an employee, I guess. Decision paralysis, regret and self-blame on the life stuff. But from the business and marketing management side, consumer behavior, brand trust, employee engagement, the paradox of choice. Check it out. Link in the show notes. So just I read a lot of books, a couple chapters here and there, but this was pretty interesting. So I wanted to share and heard about it on another podcast. All right. I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email, adam@KitchensinkWP.com, or use that SpeakPipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon. That'd be awesome. Or buy me a coffee. You want to sponsor? You can do that. There's a form on the website. Fill it out. I'll get it right back to you. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out and do some awesome things with WordPress. All right. Bye-bye.